All right, this is Saving and Investing Part 2. I left you guys off after about 14 minutes of me rambling. I'm picking back up. This is a big one right here. This is mutual funds. Mutual funds are funds that pool the savings of many individuals and invest the money in a variety of stocks, bonds, and other financial assets. Good return with less risk than doing something like stocks only. This is where a lot of you need to really focus with your money in the future. A fund manager or a mutual fund, you buy it, and most of you are not going to want to take the time to invest in stocks directly yourself or follow the bond market when we get to bonds and all that. So you'll want to go to a fund, and you'll have like a fund manager or somebody that runs the fund, and basically they're going to do all the legwork. They're going to look at all the different things that can be invested into. They'll put money into these things. If it's not performing, they'll pull the money out. They spread the risk across a wide variety of things, and these are a really good solid way for you to make a return. And you need to pause this video, go to the PowerPoint, and check out this video about mutual funds. And in my PowerPoint, my suggestion to you is always have the regular PowerPoint open along when you're watching these videos so that you can quickly go to them. And this slide right here has got the video about investing in mutual funds from InvestTools. InvestTools has got some really good videos. Hopefully, they've taken InvestTools and Investopedia both have taken some videos down in the last year that kind of bother me because they had some good ones that I like using. But this is a good solid one on what is going on with mutual fund. Go watch it and then come back after you do that. But I'm going to continue from this point on. You also have life insurance. Hopefully you understand all about mutual funds now. Life insurance companies collect premiums, and the policy will be paid out to one or more beneficiaries after the policyholder dies. Basically, people pay into the life insurance. And usually this stuff is what they call term. You get it for like 10 years. And the older you get, the more expensive this is. And there's going to be a point where life insurance isn't worth it anymore. Let's say we have a traditional young couple, husband and wife, both work, they have kids. They get life insurance, like $1 million life insurance. They take out these policies on each other. The husband takes out one on the wife takes one out on the husband. And basically it's a just in case thing. If the husband were to be killed in a car accident, and it was during the time period that they had this policy, it would pay out the $1 million, and so then maybe the kids could go to college, the wife could hang on to the house and all that kind of stuff. Now there's been movies that have scams with these and all this kind of stuff, so they will be investigated, if it's a suspicious death or anything. But you usually get these for a period of time, and the problem with them is it's a worst case scenario. You pay into this, and if you don't die, you've paid into it and you get nothing. But if you die, it has a payout. You need to keep in mind, you have things like car insurance. You might go, is it possible for somebody to go their whole driving life and never be involved in a wreck? Well, they have to, by law, have to have insurance, and they've paid into that. But if they've never had a wreck, they never really took out of that. And so life insurance, lots of people are paying into the risk pool. And some people die, unfortunately, and have to pull out of that. And the companies are taking this money and doing things with it to make a profit and stuff, because usually you're not going to have a massive amount of people all die on the same day. It's going to be spread out over time and everything. Pension funds, these are getting really, really rare in today's world. I don't know how much loyalty employees have to companies and companies have to the employees anymore, but it used to be like in the 1970s, if you were a Ford person working in the Ford factory, you were a loyal union guy, you worked for Ford, you drove a Ford, and you probably paid into a pension fund where for every dollar you put in when you retire, they might match it, for example. And what it was is you'd have all these loyal employees paying into a pension fund, and the company would hand this money over to their guys or to some firm or some intermediary, and they'd do investments and hopefully make a profit. So maybe for every dollar you gave Ford out of your paycheck, they made $3. You get that dollar back when you retire plus another dollar, and then Ford kept that third dollar in there. But pension funds consist of money set aside by a company and employee to be used during retirement of the employee, and they can be loaned out to borrowers or used by the company to buy stocks or whatever to make a profit. They're trying to make profits with this money. You need diversification at all times. You've probably heard that. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, but you don't want to invest in stocks only like some of the people did during the era of the Great Depression. They took whatever money they had to invest and they put it into one kind of investment only. You need to spread things out. You might want to play with stocks directly. You'll want mutual funds. You'll want CDs. You'll want a mix of things. Your house will be considered an investment. You need to spread things out. Don't put everything into just one kind of investment. You'll want a portfolio that's diverse. A portfolio is your collection of assets. Anytime you get into anything, there will be a prospectus. Whenever you get a loan, you have to sign off paperwork. Whenever you buy stocks, you have to sign off on paperwork. And the paperwork that ties into most of these investment things, it's going to basically deal with what is going to happen. What's this company going to do for you? What kind of return might you get? And keep in mind, you could lose everything. It's all the stuff that goes along with it, all the legal brouhaha stuff or whatever. And you need liquidity. Some of your money needs to be very liquid. Liquidity deals with being able to move your money around. I mentioned in the other video, I guess it was, about if you want to get your money out of a piece of art that you bought a piece of art for $10,000, now you can sell it for $15,000. To get your money out of that so you can go spend it, you've got to sell that work of art. So that's not going to be a liquid asset. The most liquid thing you can have is the cash in your pocket. You can use it immediately to buy things. And so liquid assets are things that the more liquid an asset is, the more readily usable it is, the easier it is to move around, that kind of stuff. And so you need, some of your stuff's just not going to be as liquid. Some things you'll have to pay penalties on if you pull your money out of some investments early or whatever. But intermediaries will help you do this kind of stuff. And you're always looking for good returns. A return is the money an investor receives above or beyond the sum initially invested. And you got to manage risk, but always remember risk is always present. This is legalized gambling, people. It's better than betting on horses, but the stock market, it can go up, it can go down. Bonds and other financial assets, just a little joke here with the James Bond stuff, but basically a bond is a certificate sold by a company or government to finance project or expansion. They have less risk than playing with stocks, but lower reward or return. They should be part of a diverse portfolio. Most of you will probably only deal with these through a mutual fund. A mutual fund will be purchasing bonds. Take a minute, pause this video, go check out this other video. Pause this video to go watch this video from Investopedia about bonds. It's a good, solid introduction to them. You need to know this material. And I'm going to continue from this point on. You should have paused and watched the video. 3 components of a bond: the coupon rate. That's the interest rate that the bond issuer will pay to the bondholder. Hopefully you understand this from watching that video a second ago. Maturity, the time at which payment to a bondholder is due. Par value, sometimes referred to as face value, but I'm pretty much always going to call it par value. The amount that an investor pays to purchase a bond and that will be repaid to the investor at maturity. The term par value is far more common than face value. But coupon rate, maturity, par value, you will need to know these for the test. So make sure you look over them. If a bond is not held to maturity, buyers and sellers will be interested in the bond's yearly yield. The yield is the annual rate of return on the bond if it's not held to maturity. And that gets into the whole buying bonds at a discount. Investors will often buy bonds at a discount from bondholders who need to sell them. This is a discount from par, and it can happen for many reasons, and we're not going to really worry about a lot of this, but you need to understand what's going on with it. There are going to be bond ratings. Investors can check a bond's quality by checking published ratings. Standard & Poor and Moody's, S&P 500 guys, that's Standard & Poor, and Moody's, they're 2 of the big bond rating groups. Bonds attract more investors because they pay regular interest income and pledge to repay the amount of the bond. Investment quality bonds are rated, and ratings help investors find bonds that are safe as possible. You have the big bonds, though, that come from the government: the Treasury bond, the Treasury bill, the Treasury note. There's a video you need to watch on this. Hopefully you're getting all this stuff about bonds, because there will be quite a few questions on the test over this. So pause this video, go watch that video, and then come back. And you should be back from that, and you should have gotten out of all of this. The Treasury bond, the T-bond, is your long-term. You tie up your money for the most amount of time with the government. It matures in 10 years or more, and it gives the best return. The Treasury note is the intermediate one, 1 to 10 years, and medium return based on time. And the Treasury bill is the short term, usually less than a year, and it gives you the lowest return. So basically what you're looking at is you're tying up your money with the government. You tie up your money for the most amount of time. with the treasury bond, and that gives you the best return because you're making a long-term commitment. This one's in the middle right here, and then this is the short-term commitment with the short or lowest return. There are municipal bonds. These are bonds issued by state or local governments to build schools. Our football stadium was done through municipal bonds here at Marcus High School. These are usually considered very safe because most municipalities are not going to go bankrupt. And then there's the corporate bonds. These guys are a little more risky, but they have a little bit more reward because once a company is 100% public, it really can't sell any more stock. It can do splits and things, but we're not going to worry about that. But once a company's public and they're 100% owned by the public, they can't sell any more stock to get money to do things. So they do these bonds, and basically you're loaning your money to the company. They're going to do things with it, and they're going to pay you back that money over time plus some profit on top of it to you. You should have gotten that out of the videos that you watched. And these are watched very closely by the SEC. And there are these ones out here called junk bonds you need to be aware of. These are the high yield, high paying bonds that are very risky. They have low ratings, and they were really popular in the 80s and 90s. There's a whole culture on that. Matter of fact, the movie The Wedding Singer with Adam Sandler, the bad guy in it, how he had all the money in the movie was because he was involved in junk bonds. Junk bonds can be corporate or municipal, but most of the time they're going to be corporate, to be honest. You're taking a major risk. You're buying a bond from a company that needs a cash infusion. They've got one leg, one foot in the grave, and if they don't get the money, they're going to die, and there's a good chance they still won't make it, but if you give them the money and they make it, it's going to have a huge return for you. CDs are similar to bonds, but don't get them confused. It's a certificate of deposit, not the silver shiny things you play music on. They're very similar to bonds. You secure a CD and let it mature for a fixed amount of time to make a profit. They're popular with investors because you can get into them for as little amount of money. $100 you can get into one. They're very customizable. There's lots of options on them. You will probably have some of these in your life. Property, you can take risks on investing in property. You can have rental property, but you're a landlord, so there's going to be things that come with that a lot of people don't think about. You can buy empty land in the hopes that expansion will go out that way, but you can take risks and perhaps receive big rewards from investing in real estate, the property values going up, all that kind of stuff, receiving rent as regular income. It can be houses, commercial property, open land. I think you guys understand what's going on with this. You can invest in collectibles, taking the risk of buying an item in the hopes that it will increase in value. Art, muscle cars, guitars. Muscle cars would be a big one with me. If you watch the Barrett-Jackson auctions, especially the big one in January, you may have seen things where they have Hemi Barracudas selling for $1 million and how these cars become worth money. Well, the problem with collectibles is you've got to know your market. You've got to understand that people are not going to buy collectibles when the economy is bad and when they need money. And you better know your market, know the ups and downs, understand what people want. Hemi Barracudas, the real ones are what people want. So here's a key. You better be able to spot the fakes. You may have seen movies where they have people that fake famous works of art and try to pass them off as the real thing. Collectibles, you can make money from them and you can lose too, but risk and reward. It's all about risk and reward. Education. Is education still a good investment or not? Because investing in your future, education is part of that. Usually the more education you have, the more money you will make, but it's not always going to be true. And some people are arguing right now, is education a good deal or a bad deal? Does education guarantee this money? The problem is a lot of people are going to college and it's very expensive and they're getting in debt and they're not able to pay off this debt and they're not making the amounts of money that they were looking to make when they get out of there. Possible reasons for the high cost of college. We got a John Stossel video that you need to check out, and I believe there's some questions with it, so take a look at that, read everything on here and look at it, and we are done with the savings and investing video.